Hello and welcome to Illuminations with Tiina and Fi, for you who desires a life of abundance. I am Tiina.
I'm Fi.
Hello, Fi.
Hi, Tiina.
We're back again. We're still on the subject of belonging.
We are.
And we're exploring a little bit today around how do we find or create belonging and connection.
Yeah, so in 10 minutes. Right. So I'm going to pick the number one of Brené Brown's practices out of her new book, Into the Wilderness. So she talks about it's hard to hate people close up, so lean in. And I think this is, for me, has been probably a really good one on learning to belong. So for me, I said in the last episode that I find it quite easy in a way not to fit in. You know, I find people and I belong with them. So that's okay. But actually, it's not okay in other ways, because it's good to belong in a wider sense of community. And funnily enough, I'm on a storytelling course at the moment, as you know, Tiina, with the International School of Storytelling, little plug for them. And it's an autobiographical long-term course. And this came up quite interestingly, how Brené also talks about paradox. And I think this is part of my being with people who may have very strong feelings around other people that I don't necessarily have. Maybe even words like hate, you know, which I don't genuinely feel that. I never have done. Thank you to my mum. She was very good in helping us understand that concept, and we didn't need to be there. And so we, on this storytelling course, we were discussing paradox, because part of the role of the storyteller is a bit of a paradox, because you're sometimes telling a story about something that you may not, it might not be how you are or how you think, but it also, you know, is part of the person who maybe wrote the story. It might be you're representing someone even in your own story who's saying something that isn't what you would be saying. And so how do you hold that role? And it was beautiful because we explored it in life. And you know, there's a story then Roy, our teacher, told us, and I'm just going to tell it. I know we're come times, but it's so poignant. So there are these two men in a land far away, and they were arguing over a piece of land, and it's my land, and really angry. They go to come before the judge because the judge will help. And the judge, who's normally resides, has actually gone away to be a judge in another land because that judge isn't well. So they think, what should we do? We'll choose the wisest man in the land and we'll ask him. So the wisest man in the land was asked to come, and he sat. And so the first man got up and went, run, he's got on my hate, and I'm really angry. And the wise man went, yes, I can see your point. Yes, I agree. And then the second man stood up and went, ah! And the wise man said, yes, I can see your point. I agree. And then this man stood up at the back and he went, excuse me, wise man, how can we ever get anywhere if you're agreeing with that one and agreeing with that one? We're not going to get anywhere. And the wise man went, yes, I see your point. I agree. And I think that's kind of part of it, really, is, you know, we can, if we choose, be in that place of being in the paradox of, you know, she says, how can you, you know, if you're anti someone calling someone, excuse me, you know, a bitch, then every woman called a bitch, even if you actually, they're not part of your political party, that is not okay. That's the paradox. So that's just part of something I'm working with at the moment. How can I also then be with people who have this hate and be there with me, who may not have that hate, but go, oh, yes, I can. I don't have to agree with the hate, but I can actually hold that space and be okay with that. Yeah, there you go.
And how does that fit into, like, last time we talked on a very personal level about our personal belonging, and we talked about the Post-it stamp, and as long as you said, as long as I belong, I know I got those people, I'm okay with being not fitting in into other groups or whatever. How does that kind of fit into, how do those two bits, because that's a very wide community then of acceptance of you think this, I think this, and it's okay. So where's the connection of the belonging and connection?
Yeah, I suppose for me, it's okay surrounding myself, you know, with all people who agree with me, and we all huddle together and go, oh yeah, aren't we great? You know, we all have this, you know, love for everybody or whatever. That's okay. But actually, if, you know, that isn't going to change the world in a way, by being in places and being, you know, like the wise man, being the wise woman, and it's not using the language, but being in the space with people who may have these strong views and showing you can sit with paradox. I suppose that's being in the wilderness, you know, that's being there alone, and maybe even saying, you know, actually that's not how I actually feel about people, but I see your point. It's not how I feel about people in the world. I genuinely believe that there people are good. And that's being in the wilderness then part of it. So I suppose it's okay to, you know, as a leader, you don't just surround yourselves with mini fees, you know, you surround yourself with people who are different to you, who do make you go, well, think differently, you know, question, show up, you know. So I suppose, does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I just want to kind of check in on how you see that, and of course, you know, it's like this culture of hate, you know, us and them, very polarized, and I think Brené Brown talks about that how polarized we are now, that the gap is becoming so wide, and some people are using that for their own purpose of drumming up more hate, because then you can be the god within that kind of community. And which is dangerous for us.
And she does, and she says, you can't go into hate with hate. It's just poisonous for yourself, and it just doesn't work. And I suppose what I've done is maybe shy away from being there to just go hold that and hear it, but also then to show up with my wilderness and go, actually, you know, I genuinely find people are okay if it's the right time. You know, or I share stories about people who have been kind, you know, which genuinely I have loads of them. So maybe it's about showing up a bit more. If with my belonging, you know, she talks about the dehumanization. It's about the humanization of us all again as human beings.
But we are,
But we have a role. You know, you can't just sit in a cupboard and go, I don't belong. You know, it is about getting out there, and you know, that's the thing. It isn't always about people that you may always agree with, but it's about building that connection as a human to human. And this is kind of Kristen Neff's work as well, isn't it? That common humanity. Yeah, so I think a lot of people, I know there's a lot of people who are very lonely, and I do appreciate that. She says, you know, she talks about the arts being a way of how you can get together, and it's a place where connection can happen. And I suppose maybe it is about, you know, joining groups, trying groups, you know, and maybe if you have that self-belonging, if you don't fit in a group, that rejection isn't rejection. It's just, this isn't right for me, or they're not the people that I fit in with. You know, if you belong in yourself. Anyway, your thoughts, my dear?
We're almost out of time, so I've got lots of thoughts, but I was thinking about, you said that there's a lot of lonely people, and I think coming back to Susan Pinker, whose research I referred to at the beginning of the last episode, and I didn't say her name, but now I've said that. She said that 1/4 of the population say that they do not have anyone to talk to. 1/4, that's 25%. How did we get there? You know, and how do we find our way back? And certainly it's you know, by polarizing ourselves, it's certainly not the way to go. But you said one key thing there, it's not sitting on your own, and not, you have to get out there. And I think that's all of our responsibility now, to get out there and you know, yes, social media is one kind of connection, but that is not the kind of connection that we need, and that doesn't lead to kind of true belonging. There's lots of neuroscience around now. They've looked at the brain of, you know, what parts of the brain do light up when you are in face-to-face communication compared to social media, and there's a lot of differences there.
And also taking the opportunity to hang out with, you know, strangers. And I made one of my clients laugh the other day. I said, I love going on the bus into Brighton town, because
you do.
I often meet people. I have great times. And I've met a woman now on the bus. We had a conversation, and we're now going for coffee. You know, I met her up then at, you know, the Tree of Life, where I hang out a little bit. She just happened to be there. And now we're going for coffee. I mean, that's amazing, you know.
That is amazing.
So it is about being open to who you might be sitting next to on the bus. You know, it is, you know, what does she say? Hold hands with strangers, you know, be more chill.
And you've got that talent. I haven't cultivated that talent yet of doing that. But I went to a networking event yesterday, and 2017, as you know, was a year where I isolated myself quite a lot, which has now got its consequences, and it's very interesting to have this episode around this. But I went networking, and I talked to my copywriter about it, and she said, well, I love networking. You just go there and talk to people, and you're yourself. And I'm like, there you go. That's all it is, you know. And that's about, here I am. That's almost like braving the wilderness. Here I am. I'll connect with those I connect with, and then I leave. Whereas my probably view of networking is like, okay, I need to fit in here. Okay, are we corporate? Okay, then we have to, you know, instead of kind of going, well, this is me. And I loved her, and I said, thank you for the inspiration, because that was inspiring. It's like, that's my attitude now. Anyway, time to go again. Thank you, Fi.
Thank you, Tiina.
And thank you for the viewers and listeners for being with us. Let us know your comments of how you kind of think around belonging and connection and polarization, everything that we've talked about in loads of things. It's been great to have you here. And do subscribe. We'd love you to subscribe. And we'll see you next time, won't we? For topics.
We will.
Bye now.
Bye.